Ghibli anime.
Hi everyone, we are Murasaki and Sake, and today we are going to be talking about Ghibli movies. Yay!
So today we are gonna rate our top 5 Ghibli movie.
The fifth movie from our side is Princess Mononoke, which can be literally translated from Japanese into Princess of the Spirit of Vengeance. And my god, what a badass character and what an amazing movie. The movie is about a little girl who lives with wolves in a forest. I mean, what a character. The movie came out in 1997 and the animation at that time was revolutionary. Everything was hand-drawn. And the essential message of the movie is how man is at war with nature, and if nature starts to retaliate, we are screwed. And it shows this by showing an actual war between civilization and the forest people or spirits. We love the tree spirits called Kodama in the movie, and they basically will bring curse or death to people who will cut these trees that they possess, really old trees.
Moving on to our fourth movie. That's a movie I've watched hundreds of times. Low-key because I had a crush on Howl. I still have a crush on Howl.
Same. I think everybody has a crush on him.
It's about a young woman called Sophie who's cursed to become an older version of herself. And then she stumbles upon a moving castle, which is Howl's moving castle. She forms a bond with Howl's fire demon. Sophie gets to know Howl, and then it just unravels some mysteries surrounding Howl, and she navigates the danger of this kingdom which is on war. So it's a really good movie. Like, I love Howl, I have a crush on Howl, but despite of that, the storytelling in this movie, the animation is so good, and the score is so good by Joe Hisaishi.
Yeah. Moving on to the next movie. The third movie, I think, from our side is none other than My Neighbor Totoro. And I mean, that's the literal translation of the name in Japanese as well. And I mean, where do I begin talking about Totoro? Everybody loves Totoro,
Yeah.
right? The story is about two girls and their father. They move to a rural house and they start exploring the house. And basically, the girls, they're really young and they have a really active imagination. So they start believing that the house is haunted. The younger girl, she comes across a huge creature called Totoro in the nearby forest when she's exploring the forest by herself. And he seems like a magical creature who can make trees grow, plants grow. He has a cat bus, one of my favorite characters in the Ghibli universe. And Totoro can also fly. But people don't know if he is an imaginary friend to the girls or is he real. Maybe he is someone the girls are making up to avoid facing their real life problems. There are even conspiracy theories saying that Totoro is the god of death. And it has a lot of in-between sort of scenes called ma in Japanese movies. This is specifically something that is famous about Ghibli movies. These are scenes that don't really show anything other than the character sort of just gazing into the distance or a sunset or something like that. And it also has spirits like the suit spirits in the house that the girls were living in called Susuwatari. So yeah, it's definitely such a warm and comforting and cozy movie.
Just remember this one scene from Totoro. There's this scene where Mei, Totoro, and her sister, they're standing in the rain with the umbrella. That scene is so
Perfect example of one of the ma scenes that I was talking about.
Moving on to our next movie, and it's Kiki's Delivery Service.
Yay.
So it has everything that we like. It has witches and it has cats.
I think this is probably one movie that has aged so well with time. It's about a 13-year-old girl, Kiki. She's a witch, and as part of her training, she goes off to live alone from a very small town to a big city. And the story kind of shows the challenges she encounters while living alone. Just simple things from cleaning your own room, living in a small apartment, having to think about your expenses, all that stuff. And I think this is why a lot of millennials and Gen Zs now working and living alone will relate to it. Along the way, she also loses motivation that sort of triggers her to lose ability to fly and talk to her cat Gigi. And she kind of has to figure her way back to get her abilities. This is basically a coming of age movie but done really well, and I think it's a must watch because it's a little different from typical Hayao Miyazaki movies where we see something ordinary turning to extraordinary. Here we have something extraordinary, a witch just working and living her life and doing a simple job.
So the first movie is, of course, Spirited Away. I mean, of course, it's Spirited Away. It's the literal translation from Japanese is Sen and Chihiro's Spiriting Away. So this came out in 2001, and it starts with a girl named Chihiro. She moves to a small town with her parents, and they lose their way while traveling, and they come across a tunnel. They cross the tunnel and they reach an abandoned amusement park where they find an unmanned place which has lots of food, and the parents start eating. Afterwards, night starts falling and Chihiro notices a lot of spirit-like things around her, and she notices that her parents, while eating that free food, they've turned into pigs. Then she sort of enters a spirit world where she has to pretend to be a spirit and work there in order to survive. And the entire movie is basically about how she comes across very famous witches like Yubawa and Zeneba in the movie, along with the really famous Snowface or Kaonashi. And it also has the suit spirits from My Neighbor Totoro in it, cameo, sort of like a cameo role. So the movie has a lot of action sequences along with the moments that I talked about earlier in My Neighbor Totoro, the Ma moments or the in-between moments.
So that was our top 5 Ghibli movies, and if you have watched any Japanese animation or any Ghibli movie, please put it down in the comment section and tell us your thoughts on those, and tell us if you'd like us to watch any other movie.
Or maybe give us your top 5 Ghibli movies.
Yeah, give us your top 5 as well. I think that's it for this video, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.
Thank you.